"Your sales approach is too soft," Shane said, waving me off while security collected my things. It was Monday morning. The dealership hadn't even opened yet. "My name is Troy Callahan, 41 years old, Senior Sales Director at Callahan Auto, a family business my father built from nothing in Sacramento. For 16 years I'd helped run this place, trained every salesperson, knew every customer who walked through those doors. Never missed sales targets. Never caused trouble." Shane, my younger brother by 4 years, stood behind what used to be my father's desk. 3 days into being the new owner, and already he'd redecorated. The fishing photos were gone. The old leather chair replaced with something that looked like it belonged on a spaceship. "Times are changing, Troy. Dad's approach doesn't work anymore. We need aggressive numbers, not relationships." I didn't argue. Didn't see the point. Just watched as Pete from security, a guy whose daughter I helped get her first car last summer, awkwardly packed up my desk items into a cardboard box. "You'll get 2 months severance," Shane continued, not looking up from his computer. Professional courtesy. Professional courtesy. From my brother. In the business our father built together. I took the box from Pete, nodded once, and walked straight out the front doors. 16 years ended in a 15-minute meeting. In the parking lot I set the box on the hood of my truck and looked back at the dealership sign. Callahan Auto. Named after both of us. But now just him. My phone buzzed. A text from Diane at Titan Motors. "Meeting still on for 2 p.m.? I smiled for the first time that morning. "Definitely," I replied. Just freed up my whole schedule. 3 days earlier, I'd signed the contract with Titan Motors, our biggest supplier, to become their regional distributor for the Western Territory. They'd approached me directly after years of working with them, impressed by how I'd built our dealership's reputation. The paperwork was being processed right now. Shane didn't know. Nobody at the dealership knew. Dad was fishing in Montana, unreachable. I pulled out of the lot, glancing at Shane through the window. He was already interviewing my replacement, some young guy in a shiny suit gesturing wildly as he talked. Shane caught my eye through the glass and gave a small dismissive wave. I waved back, pleasant as could be. I wondered how long it would take him to realize what was coming. A week maybe, 2 at most, before he'd need to order inventory. And then he'd learn what too soft really costs. Dad started Callahan Auto 35 years ago. A small lot with 10 used cars and a dream. Mom worked the books while he sold cars 7 days a week. I joined straight out of college. Shane went to business school. To learn how to make real money, he'd say. When Shane finally joined us 8 years ago, Dad was ecstatic. Both sons working the family business. A legacy secured. But Shane and I were different from the start. I learned the business from the ground up. Washing cars, answering phones, understanding the mechanics. Shane jumped straight to management, full of theories about optimization and profit margins. "Customers aren't friends, Troy," he'd tell me. "They're transactions." But that wasn't how Dad built this place. We had customers whose children and grandchildren bought their cars from us. When people walked in, I knew their names, their kids' names, what they did for work. That mattered. Dad never took sides between us. "Different styles for different customers," he'd say, trying to keep peace. But I saw the slow tension building. Shane wanted changes, faster turnover, more pressure tactics, less follow-up service. The first real crack appeared last Christmas. Dad mentioned retirement for the first time. He'd turned 65 and his back was giving him trouble. "I've been thinking about the future of the dealership," he said over dinner at his house. I expected him to lay out a partnership between Shane and me. Instead, he said, "Shane has some good ideas about modernizing, efficiency." Shane smirked at me across the table. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. In February, Dad signed the ownership transfer papers. Shane would take over in June. I'd remain senior sales director. That was the plan. Dad trusted Shane would keep me on, respect my experience. I noticed the shifts immediately after. My sales team reassigned. My office moved to a smaller space. Access to supplier accounts restricted. Just streamlining communications, Shane explained when I asked. Then last month, representatives from Titan Motors came to the dealership. They were our biggest supplier. We moved more of their vehicles than any other dealership in the region. They wanted to discuss reorganizing their distribution model. Shane was busy with the bank, so I took the meeting alone. That's when they made their offer to me personally. Not to Callahan Auto, but to me. We value relationships, Troy. Always have, Jack Bennett, their VP of sales, said. I told him I'd think about it. A week later, Dad handed Shane the keys and flew to Montana for a long fishing trip. The timing couldn't have been more perfect. I met Jack at a coffee shop downtown, away from the dealership. He slid the distributor contract across the table. Regional exclusive for the Western Territory, he said. You'd control allocation to 17 dealerships, including Callahan Auto. Most of our top models go through you first. I stared at the papers. The offer was incredible. Better money, better hours, my own small team. But it meant leaving the family business. Walking away from what Dad built. Why me? I asked. Jack leaned back. Dealerships come and go, Troy. But relationships are what keep this industry moving. You've built more solid connections with customers and partners than anyone else in our network. That's what we want. I took the papers home. Didn't sign right away. Spent the weekend thinking about Dad, about Shane, about 16 years of my life. On Friday, I overheard Shane in his office on a call. We'll clean house once Dad's completely out of the picture, he was saying. New sales team, new approach. None of that hand-holding crap Troy does. He laughed. Troy's fine with customers, but he's behind the times. Too much like Dad. Once the transition period is done, we'll restructure. I stood there, papers in hand. I'd been bringing him the monthly sales figures. He hadn't seen me. Everything went quiet in my head. 16 years. Every day, every weekend, every holiday season working to build this place. And Shane was just waiting for the right moment to push me out. I walked away without a sound, went back to my office, and signed the Titan contract that same afternoon. I scanned and emailed it to Jack directly. I'm in, I wrote. Jack called me immediately. Glad to hear it. When can you start? Give me a week to tie things up at Callahan. I didn't need a week. I needed 3 days. Just enough time for the paperwork to process and my distributor credentials to activate in their system. Just enough time to quietly back up my customer files and contact lists. I knew Shane would fire me. The only question was when. Monday morning answered that question. After leaving the dealership, I drove straight to my meeting with Titan. Jack had an office ready for me. Nothing fancy but mine. A team of 3 people who handled logistics and scheduling. A territory map on the wall with pins marking every dealership under my supervision. Callahan Auto was the largest pin on that map. Jack ran me through the ordering system, showed me how allocations worked, how to prioritize inventory flow to different dealerships. I had complete control over who got what vehicles when they got them, and at what wholesale price within our margin guidelines. It'll take a few days to get comfortable with it all, Jack said. I nodded, studying the system. Take your time, he added. No rush. But there was a clarity in me now, a cold, quiet focus I hadn't felt before. I'm a quick learner, I replied. 1 week passed. I spent it learning Titan's systems, meeting my territory dealerships by phone, and setting up my new office. I kept my phone close, waiting for the call I knew would come. On Thursday afternoon, my phone rang. Callahan Auto's main number. Troy speaking. Troy, it's Vanessa from accounting. Her voice was hushed. Shane's losing it. We can't get any inventory confirmed. The system keeps flagging our orders for review. I leaned back in my chair. That sounds like a supplier issue. That's why I'm calling. Shane tried reaching out to Titan, but they're giving him the runaround. Since you always handled them before. I don't work there anymore, Vanessa. Silence then. I know, but we've got customers waiting. The showroom's half empty. I felt a twinge of sympathy, not for Shane but for the team. Good people who depended on those sales. Tell Shane to follow the proper channels, I said. I'm sure it'll work itself out. 2 hours later, Shane called directly. I let it go to voicemail. His message was what I expected. Demands, not requests. Said I must have messed something up in the ordering system before I left. Said I needed to fix it. I waited until the next morning to call back. Callahan Auto, this is Shane. Shane, it's Troy, got your message. About damn time. We need 16 vehicles by Tuesday. The system's blocking everything. I kept my tone professional. Have you spoken with your Titan representative? They keep redirecting me. Something about a new distributor approval process. I don't have time for this, just tell me what you did to our account. I didn't do anything to your account, Shane. Then why did this start happening right after you left? I paused, letting the silence stretch. Maybe, I finally said, you should ask for the regional distributor. That's what I'm trying to do. Nobody will give me a straight answer about who's handling our territory now. I could almost see him, pacing the office, running his hand through his hair like he always did when frustrated. It's me, Shane. The line went quiet. What are you talking about? I'm Titan's new Western regional distributor. All inventory allocations for your territory go through my approval now. Another long silence. That's not possible. You can't just... I didn't just anything. Titan approached me last month. They value relationships, Shane. Always have. I heard him breathing, processing what this meant. So what? You're holding our inventory hostage? That's illegal. I'll call Dad. It's not illegal. It's business. I'm following Titan's standard allocation procedures. And Dad's unreachable, remember? Your choice. This is because I fired you? Grow up, Troy. No. This is because I'm doing my new job. Your dealership will get its allocation based on the same criteria as everyone else in my territory. No special treatment. What's that supposed to mean? It means your first big inventory order as owner just got flagged for review. Standard procedure for new ownership. I'll need to assess your dealership status in the territory. How long will that take? Tension edged his voice. For most new owners? I glanced at the calendar on my wall. 2 weeks, maybe 3. 3 weeks. We'll have an empty lot by then. That's the process, Shane. He lowered his voice, trying a different approach. Look, Troy, I know you're upset, but this is family. Dad built this place for both of us. I remember. I kept my voice even. But like you said, times are changing. Your sales approach was too aggressive, not relationship-focused enough. You son of a... I'll review your application personally. Have a good day, Shane. I hung up and stared out the window of my new office. I didn't feel the satisfaction I'd expected. Just a hollow sense of something broken that couldn't be fixed. My phone immediately rang again. Shane. I declined the call. Then it rang once more. Dad's number. This was going to get complicated. Troy, it's Dad. What the hell is going on? Shane says you're blocking inventory. I closed my eyes, phone pressed to my ear. I hadn't expected Shane to reach him in Montana. I'm not blocking anything, Dad. I'm working for Titan Motors now. Shane fired me last week. A long pause. He what? First day as owner. Said my sales approach was too soft. Had security walk me out. Dad's breathing changed. He told me you quit, said you got a better offer and just walked away. The betrayal stung all over again. Even now, Shane was lying. Dad, I've got the termination paperwork. 2 months severance. Professional courtesy, he called it. Dad went quiet again, and I could picture him sitting on the porch of his fishing cabin, trying to make sense of his son's falling out. And now you're with Titan. I'm their Western regional distributor. All dealership allocations go through me. Including ours. Yes. Dad sighed. So you're getting back at him. I'm doing my job, I said, same as I'd told Shane. His order was flagged for review. Standard procedure for new ownership. Troy. Dad's voice carried that familiar weight of disappointment. This is the business I built for both of you. I know, Dad. I gave it 16 years. And now what? You two tear it apart. I stood up, walked to the window of my office. I didn't start this. But you're finishing it. I stopped, forcing down the anger and hurt. I'm just trying to move forward. By choking your brother's inventory. I never said I wouldn't approve his order. But you will delay it. Not a question. I didn't answer. I'm coming home, Dad said. This needs to be fixed. There's nothing to fix, Dad. I have a new job. Shane has what he wants. Complete control of Callahan Auto. Clearly not complete control. Dad muttered. I'll be there tomorrow. Don't do anything until we talk. He hung up. I set my phone down and leaned against the window, watching traffic below. Dad would be disappointed, but he didn't know everything. He didn't know that Shane had planned to fire me all along. Jack knocked on my office door, then entered. Everything okay? Family stuff, I said. He nodded. I heard Shane Callahan's been calling our main office, demanding expedited service. He would. Jack closed the door. Troy, when we brought you on, we knew this might be awkward. But we also know loyalty goes both ways. I turned to face him. There's something I didn't tell you, Jack continued. Your brother approached us 3 months ago, wanted to change suppliers once he took over. Said our prices were too high, our delivery too slow. I felt my stomach drop. He was going to drop Titan. He was shopping around, aggressively. Told us if we couldn't beat competitor pricing by 15%, he'd switch the entire dealership inventory to Nova Automotive. Nova, Titan's biggest competitor, known for cheaper vehicles with lower quality and terrible service. He wouldn't, I said. But even as the words left my mouth, I knew he would. It fit perfectly with everything else. Jack shrugged. We've seen it before. New owners come in, want to make their mark, cut costs wherever they can. Dad would never have approved that. Callahan has been with Titan since the beginning. Well, Dad wasn't going to be in charge anymore, Jack said. That's why we approached you. We value the relationship your father built. We want to keep it in the family, just the right side of the family. I sat down slowly, processing what this meant. Shane hadn't just betrayed me. He'd planned to dismantle everything Dad valued about the business. The quality, the reputation, the partnerships built over decades. I didn't know. I said finally. Now you do. Jack headed for the door, then paused. For what it's worth, your brother's application is still under review. How long that takes is entirely up to you. He left, closing the door behind him. I stared at my computer screen at Shane's pending order. My finger hovered over the keyboard. Dad would be here tomorrow, expecting a resolution. But now I understood what was really at stake. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept seeing Dad's face when he'd discover the full truth. Not just about me and Shane, but about what Shane planned to do with his legacy. At 5 a.m., I gave up on sleep, drove to the office, and started making calls. East Coast dealers were already open. I checked allocation records, order histories, relationship notes. By 7 a.m., I had what I needed. A complete picture of Titan's territory operations and exactly where Callahan Auto fit in. Dad texted that his flight would land at 11. I told him to meet me at noon at Hector's Grill, neutral territory away from both Shane and my new office. At 9 a.m. I called Vanessa from accounting. Troy, thank God, Shane's been impossible. The showroom's almost empty. I need something from you, I said. The last 3 years of sales records and customer satisfaction surveys. Can you email them to my personal account? She hesitated. Shane's locked down all the data. Says it's proprietary now. Vanessa, you've been there 12 years. You know what Dad built. I'm trying to preserve that. A pause. Give me an hour. By 10, I had spreadsheets showing exactly what I'd suspected. Our highest customer satisfaction and return business came from the models that would be dropped under Shane's new supplier plan. At 11:30, I printed everything and drove to Hector's. Dad was already there, looking tired and older than when I'd last seen him. We ordered coffee, but neither of us touched it. Your brother tells a different story, Dad began. I figured he would. I slid the termination paperwork across the table. Dad read it, his face darkening. This doesn't sound like Shane. Doesn't it? I pushed over Vanessa's email with the Nova Automotive quotes Shane had requested. Dad scanned them, confused. What am I looking at? Shane's plan to switch suppliers from Titan to Nova, cut costs, boost short-term profits. Dad's hands tightened around the papers. These are dated before I signed over ownership. He's been planning this for months, Dad. Fire me, switch suppliers, restructure everything. But Nova makes cheaper cars with half the warranty coverage and terrible service, I finished. Everything you avoided your whole career. Dad set the papers down, rubbed his eyes. I don't understand, why would he do this? Quarterly profits, fast numbers, everything looks great on paper for a year or two. Enough time to build his reputation as a turnaround artist. Then he sells the dealership to a chain and moves on. Dad stared at me. Sells Callahan Auto. I nodded. That's my guess. Look at the financing inquiries. The last page showed requests for business valuation from 3 auto group conglomerates. Dad fell silent, processing everything. Finally, he looked up. And now you're at Titan. They came to me, Dad. They knew what Shane was planning. So what now? You punish him by strangling the business I built? That stung, but I was ready for it. I pulled out another folder, my real plan. I'm not punishing anyone. I'm saving what you built. I opened the folder, showing him the proposal I'd stayed up all night preparing. Callahan Auto becomes a premium Titan dealership. Exclusive models, priority allocation, specialized service packages. Everything Shane fought against, but with higher margins and better customer retention. Dad studied the numbers. These projections are real. I've been tracking the data for years. Our highest profit customers are the ones who came back because of relationships, not because of the lowest price tag. Shane won't accept this. No, I agreed. He won't. Dad looked up. Then what's the point? The point is, you still own the property, Dad. The building. The lot. Shane only owns the business. Understanding dawned in Dad's eyes. You want me to evict my own son? I want you to give him a choice. Run Callahan Auto the right way, our way, or sell his share of the business back to us. He keeps his dealer license. We keep the Callahan name and reputation. Us? You and me. I held his gaze. Partners. Dad leaned back, observing me like he'd never seen me before. And if I don't agree? Then I'll approve Shane's current inventory order today. Step back and let him run the business how he wants. Your choice. Dad shook his head slowly. Your brother really did underestimate you. I didn't reply, just waited. Finally, Dad reached for his phone. I need to make a call. To Shane? No. Dad dialed, then waited. Martha? It's Robert Callahan. I need you to pull the property lease for the dealership. Yes, today. He looked at me as he spoke. I think it's time to renegotiate some terms with the current tenant. 2 days later, Shane, Dad, and I sat in the dealership conference room with Martha, Dad's longtime attorney. None of us spoke as she laid out 3 documents on the table. Option 1, she said, sliding the first document toward Shane. You continue as owner of Callahan Auto, but under a new lease agreement with specific operational requirements, including maintaining Titan Motors as your exclusive supplier. Shane's jaw tightened. He didn't touch the paper. Option 2. She pushed the second document forward. You sell your ownership stake back to your father and brother at fair market value, minus recent losses due to inventory disruption. Shane glared at me. This is extortion. This is business, I replied, echoing his words from before. Option 3. Martha continued, unruffled. You maintain ownership but relocate the business. Robert will terminate your lease of the current property effective in 30 days. Shane looked at Dad. You'd really do this to me? Your own son? Dad met his gaze. You fired your brother without calling me. You lied about it. You planned to dismantle everything I built over 40 years, so yes, I really would. Shane stood abruptly, paced the length of the room. This is insane. All because I wanted to modernize? Make us competitive. All because you forgot what makes us special, Dad said quietly. The room fell silent. Shane stared out the window at the half-empty lot. Finally, he turned back. How much? Fair market value, I said. You'll walk away with enough to start fresh somewhere else. Shane laughed bitterly. You planned this all along. No, I replied. I just saw a way forward when you forced my hand. He looked between Dad and me, then down at the second document. Without another word, he picked up a pen and signed. No drama, no shouting. Just the scratch of pen on paper, ending one chapter and beginning another. When he finished, he stood and walked out without looking back. 6 months later, I stood in the showroom of Callahan Auto, now Callahan & Son. The floor was full again, not just with inventory but with customers. Weekend traffic was steady. Our service department booked 3 weeks out. Dad worked part-time now, mostly greeting old customers and telling stories. He seemed happier. The weight of disappointment lifted. We hadn't heard from Shane. Last I knew, he'd moved to Phoenix to work for a large dealer group. Jack from Titan stopped by, surveying the refreshed showroom. Looks good, Troy. Numbers back up. Better than before, I said. Premium models are moving faster than we can get them. Relationships, he nodded. Like I said. Like my dad said, I corrected him. After Jack left, I walked out to the lot where Dad was showing a young couple their first family vehicle, a mid-sized SUV with all the safety features. I watched as he handed them his card, told them to call him directly with any questions, even on his personal line. Some things never changed. And shouldn't. That evening, as we closed up, Dad lingered in the showroom, looking at the new sign above the entrance. You know, he said, I always thought it would be Callahan & Son someday. I didn't reply. I was wrong about Shane, he continued. But I was wrong about you too. How's that? I thought your way was the soft approach. Turns out it was the strong one all along. We locked up and walked to our cars. As Dad reached his, he paused. You could have destroyed him, you know. Cut off his inventory completely. Wouldn't have been right. Dad nodded. That's why you're sitting here and he's not. I watched him drive away, then looked back at the dealership. Our dealership. Not built on revenge or resentment, but on the same foundation it always had been. Doing right by people, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard.